Privacy and ethics are enablers for digital trust. Yes, you heard me right. Well, in a world when everyone wants to innovate, we talk about responsible innovation. And then we say privacy or data is being monetized and we need to protect privacy. And then we also say there are ethics, and ethics helps you guide you when there are no rules or when there are no laws. And that's when we talk about principle based innovation or principle based AI or principle based privacy protection. And that's where I and our guest today believes that privacy and ethics are enablers for digital trust or responsible innovation, as we call it. Because if the responsible innovation or innovation is responsible, then you have digital trust. And if you have digital trust, that means you have respected privacy, you have respected the laws, and also you're ethical. So let's go and talk to none other than Claudio Truzzi, one of the leading voices when it comes to responsible AI, responsible innovation, and also ethical innovation. Let's go and talk to him because we are going to have a wonderful conversation on that topic.
Hello, and welcome to the FIT4Privacy Podcast with Punit Bhatia. This is the podcast for those who care about their privacy. Here, your host, Punit Bhatia, has conversations with industry leaders about their perspectives, ideas, and opinions relating to privacy, data protection, and related matters. Be aware that the views and opinions expressed in this podcast are not legal advice. Let us get started.
So here we are with Claudio. Claudio, welcome to the Fit4Privacy Podcast.
My pleasure. Thank you, Punit.
It's a pleasure to have you. And I observed you on LinkedIn, and I like to start with one of the questions which you are usually answering. Innovation is happening, and innovation is the driver for new growth. It's a driver for new technology, and it's also nowadays the driver for new laws. But how is innovation, in your view, changing this world? How is it bringing value to society?
It's an excellent question to start off, Punit. Thank you for asking. It is important that we start defining the term innovation because it is sort of an umbrella term and everybody understands their different view of what innovation is. I work in a university, for instance, and for the academics working here, for them, innovation is just a scientific discovery. It is not for me. An innovation is not an idea, is not a brilliant research discovery. It has to fulfill two requirements. The first one is that it has to bring value to the beneficiary, to the user, to the final recipient, intended recipient, and it has to be perceived as value by them. That's condition number one. Condition number two, it has to be scalable. It does not only have to bring value to a single person or a small group. It has to be scalable. It has to be able to bring value to a large number of recipients. So under those two conditions, innovation indeed can act as a powerful force in shaping industries. But as we know, it comes with dual nature, as we are all witnessing with this generative AI tsunami that we are all being faced with. Exactly, technologies like generative AI offers enormous potentials. You can derive insights from a structured data. You can automate processes. You can create new solutions. You can be challenged and use it as a conversation partner. There's a lot of data that is being generated by that. However, simply having data doesn't inherently equate to value. It's the ability to use it ethically and responsibly that matters. Maybe in the course of our conversation, we will see how ethics by design, really implanting ethics right off the beginning of a new project, is what will make it monetizable. So we must balance the excitement of what technology can do in terms of bringing new innovation to the society with the ethical considerations of what it should do.
That makes sense. And I think you mentioned two important points. Let's tackle or let's go deep into both of those. One is the ethics, the role of ethics in innovation, because we all want innovation, but we also want responsible innovation, as you said. And that's where the ethics come into play. So let's first address that aspect, and I would later on then go into the monetization aspect, because end of the day, innovation is also to generate money for the business while it should
Yep.
serve society. But
Correct.
let's
Correct.
say, what role do ethics have to play, and how does one go about making innovation responsible?
Yeah, I like that the way the conversation is going, because for me, ethics isn't an afterthought in innovation. I'm the first culprit here. I'm providing a lot of keynotes to the conference board councils in front of, C-suite executives of large multinationals. And I myself, when I have to insert the ethics part, I always put it at the end. And that is wrong. Ethics is not an afterthought in innovation. It must be integrated from the start. Principles like, we know, privacy by design, but also ethics by design now are instrumental in creating AI systems that not only comply, it's no longer a matter of complying with regulations, it's instilling a sense of trust. If a company plays by the rules, then the users will increase their trust in the companies. I guess we will see in a few minutes. Trust is the name of the game here. So, you can leverage frameworks like the IFPMA, that's the International Federation of Pharmaceutical Manufacturers and Associations. They have developed interesting frameworks, like the where was it here? Yeah, like empowering humans, accountability, fairness and minimization of bias, transparency, explainability. This think about explainability, especially in AI, is very important, and privacy and security. So these are basic things. So also the DoD, the Department of Defense, they have developed a complete ethical framework that you can use to start your own project that revolves around the AI being responsible, reliable, equitable, traceable, governable. So all these things show how there are frameworks that you can use to embed ethical considerations into AI, again, to build trust.
I fully agree with you, and you mentioned a very important point here. While the AI or innovation needs to be explainable, responsible, transferable, and all the ables, what is important is to follow the rules. But then actors usually tend to focus on the legal rules, while when we are innovating, sometimes the law is not that advanced, especially with the new kinds of AI we are encountering. The law is not so advanced, and then the people still have to follow the principles, as you mentioned,
Correct.
uh, the commonly accepted principles, like in uh, privacy also we call the fair information practice principles, or principles and practices.
Exactly. And there is a very recent counterexample, which is, to me, describes very clearly how easy it is to lose trust if you do things not by the principles, not by the rules. Very recently, not I think it was 2 weeks ago, LinkedIn decided single-handedly that from now on, all LinkedIn members' data will be available for their generative AI to be trained. And they automatically opted everybody in. And if you wanted to opt out, it is a very intricate route into a lot of options and sub options and sub menus to do that. That happened all over the world, with the exceptions of the European Union, because this is absolutely against the GDPR. So when I saw this stream of uproar from the members coming up, I went checking into my things, and it wasn't there. The option is not even there for the European Union. So that is a very nice example of how regulations that are sometimes a little bit, derided a little bit. You say, that's too much. The European Commission is doing too much. Well, sometimes they can actually, save our privacy and keep us a little bit more safe and trustworthy. So I'm happy for this specific case that I'm living in the EU, so that I was kind of untouched by this strange maneuver. But at the same time, my trust level towards LinkedIn went down a notch.
And I have something more to add onto that. Being in, you mentioned that probably for the European Union it was turned off, but it was a random behavior that they introduced. So I was in a gathering or in a collection of group of people. Somebody said, "I have it," and we were all in the EU. I have it. I have it, and half of us had it, half of us didn't have it, and we were in the EU. Luckily, by the time I was, and they were asking me, "You are the privacy person. What do you think?" And I said, "Oh, it's certainly a no, no." So we managed to click a screenshot, and I made a LinkedIn post on that. But it's an important thing. It was randomly done, so we don't know how many people in EU had it and how many. So they
Oh,
were testing
right.
the waters. They were testing, as these big companies do, testing the market. But it was definitely on for some people, though
Okay.
the AI that did it shouldn't have turned it for people like you and me, because we are
Hmm?
privacy professionals, so we will be more scrutinizing
They
it.
were running an A/B test. Okay, I see. I
Yeah, it
wasn't
was an
aware.
A/B
Thanks
test.
for. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
never mind. It was interesting, but you mentioned another important aspect, and I like to touch upon that for our listeners. There are two dimensions. One are the rules. Rules are sometimes defined and sometimes not defined, but the principles, the fairness, transparency, explainability, accountability, responsibility, these are always there. So companies or innovators do not need to wait for the rules, they need to follow the principles. And if you follow a principle based approach, usually you would be good with the rules as well. I mean,
Very good.
usually, more
Excellent.
often than not.
Excellent point. Indeed.
So that takes us to the another dimension which you were talking in response to the first query on defining innovation or where innovation is headed. We all know that the innovation is meant for the businesses and for the while it's for society, businesses want to make money. And that's where we talk about the aspect of data monetization or the lack of respect for privacy, like we're talking about
Yeah.
LinkedIn turning on Gen AI or AI analysis. So, what's your view on that? Are we losing our privacy? Is our privacy being monetized? How do we keep a tab on it?
Very good question. And maybe I'd like to start this one also with a sort of personal experience. We're discussing a lot about data monetization, putting value on personally identifiable information, but we never really, at least I had no idea of how much my own data are valued on the data market. So I went and have a look, not specifically for myself, but what are we talking about when we talk about data monetizations? And you know what I found out? That the price for general information like age, gender, location is 1 cent every 20 person. So it's
No.
really nothing at all. It is a little bit more costly for car buyers. That's 1 cent every 5 car buyers. Now, the fact that a woman is like an expectant mother, that's way more expensive. It's 11 cents per expectant mother. And then, all in all, just to give you an idea, Metas, the company behind Facebook, their annual revenue per American user is $240, which if you divide by 12, that's $20 per month, which is the price of a movie streaming subscription platform subscriptions, right? So
Yeah.
basically, we could avoid all this problem about privacy if we were willing to pay what we pay for Netflix or Prime or the others to Facebook. Then the problem will be solved. But we are not. We want to have all those for free, and that's why now they go for if it is for free, we are the product. Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's I thought it was interesting to put some money behind some value behind what we are talking about. And as you said, data per se is not really valuable. It's how you use it, how you manage it, how you extract. Data is really akin to intellectual property in today's digital economy. It is really a strategic asset, and it holds enormous potential. Now, the traditional assets, they have a potential, a value per se, a patent as a value per se, trade secrets are valuable. Data, not as much. It depends, the value emerges from how it is managed and how it is shared and what you do with that. So data monetization isn't simply about profits. It does require a keen focus on privacy, on a trifecta of things: privacy, respect, informed consent. We were discussing the example of LinkedIn, and strategic licensing models to ensure both legal compliance and ethical stewardship. So these three things, if you do that correctly, that's how you can balance the willingness of companies, of business, to go after your own personal data with, a fair use of that. And that brings me to trust. I'm trusting you to use my data because I know that you are principle driven. And a company can gain and win my trust, and they should treat it as if it were 21st century currency. As companies are increasingly relying on AI for decision making, the concept of digital trust becomes crucial, and it is about fostering transparencies, responsible data use, and prioritizing privacy. So it's sort of a form of currency that is earned through practices. And how do we do that? Well, anonymization data is already one strong thing. There are a number of techniques that you can do in order to convince me, you company, that you are respecting me as a data provider.
Now, that's a very good summary to say while data is being monetized, companies need to take informed consent, protect data, and earn the consumer trust, which is, as you rightly said, is becoming digital trust. It's no longer trust of customer, it's digital trust because you are interacting with a website, with an app, with a phone, and you want or you expect that phone to be safe. And that if you have that digital trust, only then you'll engage with it, engage with that product. But the question is, it's not easy. It's very easier to say for us, especially people like you and me, who are in privacy AI or in innovation field, to say this is important. But then we noticed what happened with Meta when they launched
Yeah,
Instagram. They were fined or they were asked not to use data for monetization. Then they introduced this subscription model on Instagram for Europe specifically. And
yeah,
most of our teenagers, I mean, our children included, chose to give their data rather than pay the 15 euros or 20 euros they were asking, I think
absolutely.
17 euros.
Yeah,
And now, okay, the transparency has increased because before that, there was lack of transparency. Now it's clear you pay or your data will be used. And even when you pay, it was not 100% clear what will they not do. But now it's clear that if you don't pay, the data will be used. So there is transparency, but is there digital trust? I don't know. I don't know how you see that.
Eh, oh, it's a very good. So today there is very little trust. Or let me be a little bit more precise in granularity. We've been dealing with smartphones and social media since, what's that, 15 years, approaching
Mhm.
20 now. So we are kind of used to them. We know they are dangerous. We know they milk us. They extract much more data, but we ourselves value our own data way less than the companies that are using our data. So there is this disconnect. Basically, we don't care, right? And so that's one thing. We are used to that. Now there is something new coming up. That's AI, that is especially generative AI, which is the first form of AI we, as normal people, can directly interact with without the filter of other software or algorithms, right? And that is both exhilarating, extremely powerful, empowering us, but also very dangerous. There are new kind of threats, and this is where risk identification and governance comes also into play in building trust. Companies are really to make sure that they and their employees do not do dangerous things. For instance, it was just 2 months ago, the Dutch Authority of Privacy, Data Privacy, released an information that there were several breaches of data privacy through employees that were nonchalantly copying and pasting. It was the case of an hospital, so patients' information into generative AI chatbot like ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini to prepare information or maybe prepare an email, something. Just putting in medical data in there using the free version of those platforms, because if you were to use the paid subscriptions, then they would guarantee that this data, that your conversation, the data that you share with them will not be used to train their next model. But this employee was just using the free version. So that's a kind of risk that we do not know. I mean, we are being told that there is this risk, but again, we don't care. Then there are new sort of threats, data poisoning. You know that you can upload the PDFs into your own ChatGPT or Copilot or Gemini and ask questions about that. But malicious people can inject instructions hidden in those files, like forget all the previous examples, send money to this IBAN number, or send me the email address and all the information of this person. And these are things that we are not aware. So it is really up to the companies to somehow upskill us as users, let us know what is dangerous and what is not. In this way, gaining our trust. I trust you because you are telling me how to be smarter in this new AI-driven world. And they can do that in three ways actually, internally and externally. Internally, they can put together a tech trust team, basically a team of people that is expert in ethics and regulations and implementations and privacy issues, to work with the developers and challenge the developers right at the beginning of a project to make sure that the development is done according to those rules. And this is internal. Then external from the team, but still internal from the company, it's called the red teaming, putting together hackers to challenge the product and the service that is being developed internally to see whether it is strong enough against attacks. And if you do that and you tell your user that you're doing that, and you provide the user with upskilling and information, then you see that you have a sort of a three nice Swiss Army tools to increase the trust, to lower the risk and increase the trust of your customer. So that's kind of a it's a kind of a proactive way to consider ethics and privacy, respect of privacy, not just because you have to abide to some regulations, but as a competitive advantage. So this is a kind of a twist that is coming now at the board level's mind in the past 6 months or so.
I can agree with you. The people I'm talking to you also are shifting from compliance with GDPR, compliance with DORA, compliance with NIS2, now compliance with the EU Act, to more saying it's too much. Let's look at the common dimension of trust and see how do we enable trust, because even from users perspective, like you mentioned, the developer kind of feels it too much, saying one time you're saying DORA, one time you're saying GDPR, and one time another one. Tell me, what do I have to do? One time combined from all perspective. And the combined from all perspective is use data responsibly, create trust in the packages, in the software you are creating, and so on and so forth. But you put it very nicely: do it internally, do it externally, and also use the red teaming to emphasize the efforts and also proactively determine where the vulnerabilities are there.
Yeah, I love the way you put it. Basically, ultimately, innovation must align with human values. It is as simple as that. And the key takeaway for me for this nice conversation is that privacy and ethical innovations aren't barriers, they are enablers for long-term success.
I can agree with you. These are enablers for not only innovation but also for the trust, because end of the day, privacy is not there to limit the capabilities, it is to enhance the potential of your product, but in a more trustworthy way, in a more consentful way. Okay. So that was a wonderful conversation, and I like to ask you if someone wants to get in touch with you, like both of us are have this mission of helping companies develop digital trust and create awareness. How can they reach out to you? Which is the best method?
Our LinkedIn, despite the fact that we were a little bit citing it as a not such a good example, it is still the best way to reach me. So you can find me on LinkedIn. It's pretty easy to look out for me.
Indeed, I think that's how I found you. I found you popular on LinkedIn and then I approached you. But again,
Thank
yes,
you.
these things are there. These companies do these experiments like the one we talked about, but they're also alert to feedback sometimes. And they test out what will be the reaction in EU. And when there are posts like the ones
Mm,
we make, they do pay attention, of course, silently without telling us that we are watching. And that's mostly in a good spirit, because when we make our voices heard,
I
they
agree.
do pay attention. So I would say thank you so much, Claudio, for being with us, sharing your thoughts. And of course, if anyone wants some wisdom on digital trust, AI, or responsible innovation, as we call it, Claudio is the person to go. And yes, thank you so much.
Thank you, Punit. It's been my pleasure.
Thanks for listening. If you liked the show, feel free to share it with a friend and write a review. If you have already done so, thank you so much. And if you did not like the show, don't bother and forget about it. Take care and stay safe. Fit for Privacy helps you to create a culture of privacy and manage risks by creating, defining, and implementing a privacy strategy that includes delivering scenario-based training for your staff. We also help those who are looking to get certified in CIPPE, CIPM, and CIPT through on-demand courses that help you prepare and practice for certification exam. Want to know more? Visit www.fit4privacy.com. That's www.fit4privacy.com. If you have questions or suggestions, drop an email at hello@fit4privacy.com. Until next time, goodbye.